Starting off with an exclusive, which is in Le Croix today.
A week with the Syrian resistance. Yes, that's their front page. It's about a young French photographer who managed to sneak his way into Syria via Turkey, and he spent a week with Syrian resistance fighters who defected from the main army. Now, there have been a number of reports like this in recent weeks of Western journalists who have sneaked their way in somewhere, somehow, and sent reports back from Syria. But there's some really strong, powerful pictures in this. That young soldier there handling a gun that the photographer says he barely knew how to fire, for young people demonstrating, children even demonstrating in that photo reportage. And the paper says it's very important that we still get these images coming out of Syria and that we put them on the front pages because, of course, it's still officially closed to Western journalists, and the regime is using that to manipulate public opinion, set people up against one another. There's some of the activists there in that picture who actually are emailing videos that they've made themselves to Western media. So you can see they're also quite media savvy. They're realising the importance, the photographer says, of getting their message out to the world.
And here in France, some diplomatic row brewing with one of Syria's neighbours, Turkey.
Yes, now Turkey is really important to the West as an interlocutor in this Syrian problem, and they've become a really important diplomatic force in the world this year, so it might not be the most opportune moment to really upset Ankara. But that hasn't put some French MPs off. Open crisis between France and Turkey is Le Figaro's headline. That's because the French MPs are set to vote on a resolution this week which would make it illegal to describe the Armenian genocide of 1915 as anything other than a genocide, much like it's illegal to deny the Holocaust. Now, while most historians agree that we probably can describe it as a genocide, one says to Le Figaro that apart from being incredibly undiplomatic at the moment, this law would restrict the freedom of expression of historians and researchers who then wouldn't be able to go back, study the period and come up with their own views. So he says it's not the most intelligent move from MPs.
Now, Elena, of course, loves her scandal. She's got a health scandal for us today. This is about poisonous breast implants.
Yes, 30,000 women in danger in France is Libération's front page. This is because a French company called PIP used industrial silicone as opposed to the kind that's meant for medical use without telling their patients illegally in a number of breast implant operations. Now, the French government now says any affected women must get their implants taken out. They'll pay for that operation, but not for them to get new, safer implants. And Libération actually says in their editorial that the government should pay for it because these aren't just women who decided they wanted to have bigger breasts. There's also cancer patients involved, and these women have been the victims of a major health scandal.
French nuclear energy firm Arriva is making the headlines.
Yeah, in a case of what looks like industrial espionage. Well, according to the front page of Le Canard enchaîné, the satirical paper, the former boss of Arriva, Anne Louvergeon, and her husband was spied on at home by a Swiss private investigations agency that got hold of their medical records, their criminal records, their bank accounts. They don't quite know who actually paid the investigations agency to do this, but whoever it was apparently suspected there might have been something dodgy about Arriva's takeover of a Canadian firm called Urania. Now, that turned out to be bad economic news for Arriva because the Canadian firm's lost 80% of its value since it was taken over because it turned out they didn't actually have as much uranium in their mines as it was thought that they had. Now, someone apparently suspected that Anne Louvergeon, the former CEO, or her husband might have profited from this deal, but apparently nothing that they found in all of their intelligence hacking and phone tapping actually supports this idea. Now, who could have been behind it? The Canard enchaîné doesn't really know, but they do suspect that they see the hand of the president. They point out that at the time when this hacking was going on, a number of people in high places were looking for an excuse to sack Anne Louvergeon.
Another scandal in the brewing. And a really big story, biggest story of the day as far as Elena's concerned, isn't it? I don't know.
Well, it will be for the papers, particularly if he comes. He said yes, David Beckham on the front page of Le Parisien today. They're very, very excited. We should point out that Beckham's management say the announcement's premature and that they still haven't actually come to an agreement with Paris Saint-Germain. But Le Parisien report that the Parisian club have agreed to pay him €800,000 a month for the next 18 months. That doubles the salary that they're currently paying to their highest paid player. So I'm not sure if he's worth it in sporting terms. I'm not an expert, but I'm sure in terms of column inches and press coverage, Victoria's worth it to the French press. Le Parisien say they've already spotted her checking out properties on France's extremely posh Avenue Montaigne, and that she's been to the British School in Paris to work out where she's going to be sending Romeo and Cruz.
Excellent. We need photos. If you have any photos, you never know, you might have seen them out and about around Paris. We'd love to see them. Elena, thanks very much. That's Elena here with the French newspapers on France 24 today. The headlines then, more voting in Egypt's elections today.